identifying your center. But where do you stand? What is at the center of your own life? Sometimes that isn't easy to see. Perhaps the best way to identify your own center is to look closely at your life support factors. If you can identify with one or more of the descriptions below, you can trace it back to the center from which it flows, a center which may be limiting your personal effectiveness. If you are spouse-centered. Security. Your feelings of security are based on the way your spouse treats you. You are highly vulnerable to the moods and feelings of your spouse. There is deep disappointment resulting in withdrawal or conflict when your spouse disagrees with you or does not meet your expectations. Anything that may impinge on the relationship is perceived as a threat. Guidance. Your direction comes from your own needs and wants and from those of your spouse. Your decision-making criterion is limited to what you think is best for your marriage or your mate, or to the preferences and opinions of your spouse. Your decision-making criterion is limited to what you think is best for your marriage or your mate, or to the preferences and opinions of your spouse. Wisdom. Your life perspective surrounds things which may positively or negatively influence your spouse or your relationship. Power. Your power to act is limited by weaknesses in your spouse and in yourself. If you are family-centered. Security. Your security is founded on family acceptance and fulfilling family expectations. Your sense of personal security is as volatile as the family. Your feelings of self-worth are based on the family reputation. Guidance. Family scripting is your source of correct attitudes and behaviors. Your decision-making criterion is what is good for the family, or what family members want. Wisdom. You interpret all of life in terms of your family, creating a partial understanding and family. Narcissism. Power. Your actions are limited by family models traditions. If you are money-centered. Security. Your personal worth is determined by your net worth. You are vulnerable to anything that threatens your economic security. Guidance. Profit is your decision-making criterion. Wisdom. Money-making is the lens through which life is seen and understood, creating imbalance. Judgment. Power. You are restricted to what you can accomplish with your money and your limited vision. If you are work-centered. Security. You tend to define yourself by your occupational role. You are only comfortable when you are working. Guidance. You make your decisions based on the needs and expectations of your work. Wisdom. You tend to be limited to your work role. Power. Your actions are limited by work role models, organizational constraints, occupational opportunities. Your boss's perceptions, and your possible inability at some point in your life to do that particular work. If you are possession-centered. Security. Your security is based on your reputation, your social status, or the tangible things you possess. You tend to compare what you have to what others have. Guidance. You make your decisions based on what will protect, increase, or better display your possessions. Wisdom. You see the world in terms of comparative economic and social relationships. Power. You function within the limits of what you can buy or the social prominence you can achieve. If you are pleasure-centered. Security. You feel secure only when you're on a pleasure high. Your security is short-lived, anesthetizing, and dependent on your environment. Guidance. You make your decisions based on what will give you the most pleasure. Wisdom. You see the world in terms of what's in it for you. Power. Your power is almost negligible. If you are friend-centered. Security. Your security is a function of the social mirror. You are highly dependent on the opinion of others. Guidance. Your decision-making criterion is what will they think? You are easily embarrassed. Wisdom. You see the world through a social lens. Your actions are as fickle as opinion. Power. You are limited by your social comfort zone. If you are enemy-centered. Security. Your security is volatile, based on the movements of your enemy. You are always wondering what he is up to. You seek self-justification and validation from the like-minded. Guidance. You are counterdependently guided by your enemy's actions. You make your decisions based on what will thwart your enemy. Wisdom. Your judgment is narrow and distorted. You are defensive, overreactive, and often paranoid. Power. The little power you do have comes from anger, envy, resentment, and vengeance, negative energy that shrivels and destroys, leaving energy for little else. If you are church-centered. Security. Your security is based on church activity and on the esteem in which you are held by those in authority or influence in the church. You find identity and security in religious labels and comparisons. Guidance. You are guided by how others will evaluate your actions in the context of church teachings and expectations. Wisdom. You see the world in terms of believers and non-believers, belongers and non-belongers. Power. Perceived power comes from your church position or role. If you are self-centered. Security. Your security is constantly changing and shifting. Guidance. Your judgment criteria are, if it feels good. What I want. What I need. What's in it for me. Wisdom. You view the world by how decisions, events, or circumstances will affect you. Power. Your ability to act is limited to your own resources, without the benefits of interdependency. More often than not, a person's center is some combination of these and/or other centers. Most people are very much a function of a variety of influences that play upon their lives. Depending on external or internal conditions, one particular center may be activated until the underlying needs are satisfied. Then another center becomes the compelling force. As a person fluctuates from one center to another, the resulting relativism is like roller coasting through life. One moment you're high, the next moment you're low, making efforts to compensate for one weakness by borrowing strength from another weakness. There is no consistent sense of direction, no persistent wisdom, no steady power supply or sense of personal, intrinsic worth and identity. The ideal, of course, is to create one clear center from which you consistently derive a high degree of security, guidance, wisdom, and power, empowering your proactivity and giving congruency and harmony to every part of your life.